Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The Honorable Kamala Prasad Bisesa, political leader of the United National Congress, my parliamentary colleagues, members of the National Executive, supporters joining us in Trinidad and Tobago and across the CARICOM region in the United States, North America, and Europe. Thank you for bringing us into your homes, into your workplaces tonight to speak on some of the troubling issues facing our beloved Twin Island state. Today, brothers and sisters, Trinidad and Tobago is in a surreal state. Who would have thought in September 2015 we would have reached a day when there is no commissioner of police in place? The PNM government abused us for 5 years, told us that we had no commissioner of police, that we could not appoint a permanent commissioner. Under this administration, they have no commissioner, none at all, not even an acting commissioner of police. And that has serious implications. Keith Rowley is today lecturing us about proper behavior. Who would have thought? He is the last person in the world to speak about proper behavior. You all recall that sometime in 2013 or thereabout, June 2013, Keith Rowley, as opposition leader, went to the private residence of the chairman of the Integrity Commission, then Ken Gordon, to make a report on his infamous Emailgate scandal. He said that he had sent the matter to the president, but thought it went to the commission. So he went to the house of a chairman of the Integrity Commission. He was condemned throughout Trinidad and Tobago by all institutions as being reckless at best, if not as a case of misbehavior in public life. This is a man who has constantly attacked women in this country using crass language. His behavior left a lot to be desired. But brothers and sisters, let me say that our behavior in the parliament last Thursday, I will be the first to admit it was behavior unbecoming for a bishop's tea party, but it was, brothers and sisters, returning our parliament to the pristine glory of a British-descended Westminster system. On that day, you are so proud of your opposition MPs and leader who stood strong with courage, tenacity, and never surrendered to the oppression and abuse of the People's National Movement. Brothers and sisters, today there are implications of not having a commissioner of police in place. They have no commissioner of police. There is no transfer of authority from the outgoing commissioner to a new commissioner. Do you know that if today there is some problem, some deadly problem in a police station, something goes wrong in a police station and a police officer has to be transferred out of there to protect the sanctity of an investigation, to ensure that procedures are followed without the risk of pollution and contamination, there is no one to transfer a policeman from any police station in Trinidad and Tobago. Today, there is nobody to be promoted. Today, the front page of a newspaper said 2,800 police officers don't know if they're going or if they're coming because there's no commissioner of police to promote. So the police service is in a mess. No promotions, no transfer, no handover. You will agree with me that a police commissioner is someone who would have in their possession secret reports, confidential documents, maybe to do with sensitive investigations into officers of the government, of the parliament. A commissioner of police is always in possession of that type of sensitive documentation, reports, and so on. Mr. Griffith left, and there's nobody to hand it over to because there is no commissioner of police. Do you know under the Anti-Terrorism Act, I have it in my hand here, section 34(1)(a) and 22(d) and (e), brothers and sisters, the commissioner of police is a law enforcement authority in anti-terrorism matters. Under this act of parliament, I was on the Joint Select Committee that dealt with it. As far as anti-money laundering is concerned, brothers and sisters, the Commissioner of Police is designated the law enforcement authority. When the Financial Intelligence Unit has information and they want to investigate allegations of money laundering and allegations of financing terrorism, they must send that to a Commissioner of Police. He and he alone can order an investigation. So today, the dire result of the corruption and the undermining of the police service commissioned by Rowley and others, the dire consequence is that terrorists today, the window has been opened for them to jump out and run free. Since October 14th, they can be involved in financing terrorism, not only in Trinidad, but across the world, because there is no commissioner of police who can immediately go to the court and get a warrant to freeze their account and get what is called a restraint order to freeze their accounts. This cannot happen. The government boasts of suspicious transactions and $27 billion in transactions. Today, there is no one to order investigations into allegations of suspicious transaction and, importantly, financing of terrorism. So I call upon the international community, the United States, Britain, and others to take note that this government has led us down a path where terrorists has a free rein as of October 14th, and they can conduct their business financing terrorism with freedom and liberation because a commissioner of police is not in place. This is where Rowley has led us. So who does the commissioner hand over to? Keith Rowley? Brothers and sisters, emerging from last Thursday and subsequent days, I have heard comments about independent, well, I call them 9 dependent senators, speaking about the opposition in derogatory terms, about our conduct and our behavior. Today I tell Senator Vieira and others, don't be fast and out of place. Get in your section. If you call yourself an independent senator, stay out of politics. Otherwise, you will be fair game in the political gael. I remember I have the experience. There was a time when we had such senators in the independent benches, like Professor John Spence, Kenny Julian, Ken Ramchan, Diana Mahabir Wyatt, Martin Daly, Ramesh Deosaran, Eastland Mackenzie, and so. When they voted, you never know how they will vote. Some will vote for the government bill. Some will vote with the opposition. Some will abstain. That was the glory days of the independent benches. I call upon you to watch the voting record of the current 9 dependent senators. See when they have departed from government policy. See which critical bill they have departed. This would never have obtained in the glory days of the independent bench. I say no more on that matter now. Brothers and sisters, on Thursday last, the parliament was dishonored when the government decided to express contempt, to show contempt for democratic principles and constitutional values. We all know what a motion is, and I'm hearing, Rowley speaking and being parroted by the so-called university armchair commentators, talking about the motion was skimpy. What do you think it is, a bikini? A bathing suit? It's skimpy. Brothers and sisters, a motion according to the standing orders must be 250 words or thereabout. A motion filed in the parliament is not a PhD thesis. When you are carrying an argument to remove a head of state, you cannot write in a motion 25 pages and 10,000 words to give the legal validity and the foundation for your arguments. It depends on a debate. The Constitution says, yes, you must spell out the particulars and so on, but they cannot have contemplated that you will spell out particulars using 75 pages for legal research. So we filed a proper motion. That was no skimpy motion. That is a proper motion that was accepted by the Speaker as proper. She approved it. So Keith Rowley is in contempt of the Speaker ruling to allow that motion. And Vishnu Raghunath and others who now find their voice, they are in contempt of the Speaker and the Parliament because the Speaker accepted that motion as proper and fitting to put on the order paper. We disagree. In fact, we disagree vehemently in that there should be a debate because you cannot mean you stand up and read 250 words and ask people to vote on such an important matter as setting up a tribunal. Had a tribunal be established, the president demit office immediately. You cannot expect 250 words to do that. A debate is necessary and needed, but the government undermined our democratic values and constitutional principles. The parliament was made a mockery out of. And I remind people it is biblical, I believe. It was biblical when the Lord Savior said the Sabbath was made for man. Man was not made for the Sabbath. The parliament was made for man. Man was not made for the parliament. So there is a discretion, there is a power that you look at our rules and regulations and adapt it to suit our interests and the public interests, the national interests, brothers and sisters. I remind people that even Mugabe in Zimbabwe, when the time came for his impeachment, you know there was a debate in the Zimbabwean parliament. There was one there, but not in Port of Spain, Trinidad, under Rowley. A horrible precedent has been set where in the future a president can only be removed with malice by a government, not by a parliament using a transparent process, a process where you can debate, you can argue, that is transparent, a process that you disclose information, that you learn, that you answer burning questions. This is the problem we face now. So that was no skimpy motion, that was a well-worded, proper motion, received and accepted by the chair of the House. Then I'm hearing some say we were playing the gallery to be ejected from Parliament. What utter nonsense. In fact, I can tell you, when we plan and strategize, we were very clear that our conduct must not go to the extreme where any one of us would be ejected from the Parliament and would then not be allowed to vote. Voting was very important in that matter, brothers and sisters. Brothers and sisters, the next matter I raise is what I call the Marshall Plan. The Prime Minister made a curious statement. When there was no Commissioner of Police, the Prime Minister said, there's a chain of command in the police service, so you don't need a COP, a commissioner. I want to tell the Prime Minister, you are not the Commissioner of Police. Prime Minister, tonight I ask you, Rowley, have you been receiving police officers at the diplomatic center to discuss matters or to give directions on any matter regarding Gary Griffith? Have you received a woman police constable by the name of Marshall? Have you received her as a visitor at the diplomatic center? I asked the question. You have to furnish the answer because the answer is deadly. That is the police officer who went on record on a search warrant. I have a copy in my hand of the first page. And in this search warrant is very instructive. A girl is being accused. The allegation is a young lady was on a boat, a pleasure boat down the islands. So is in breach of a health regulation. You know they got a search warrant to search your house? So you're in a boat in the sea, and the police get a warrant to search your house and seize your phone. What does that have to do with being in the sea? So brothers and sisters, this is a dangerous, dangerous time we live in. They are establishing a Gestapo police service with Rowley in charge as Papa Doc. Today, as I speak to you, the officers, the appointed workers, employees of the TTPS, who they believe associated with Gary Griffith, have all been fired. They have all been fired, terminated, brothers and sisters, because it is believed that Gary Griffith hired them. So they're loyal to Gary Griffith. You cannot operate like this. If another commissioner comes and he or she decides they don't want certain contract officers, fine. There's a contract that they can entertain, they can look at, and they can, terminate. But you cannot terminate contracts of employees that way because you suspect that they were hired by a former police officer. They are setting up a tuntun makut in the police service. And the PNM has always had this. I remind our young people who may not know, it was in 1964, thereabout, Patrick Solomon, a national security minister, went to the police station to bail out his son. The Mighty Sparrows sang a famous song about that as well. The PNM leaders and PNM ministers always had this inclination to flirt with the police service as if them is police too. And we are seeing it today. Rowley believes he's the commissioner of police. Keith Rowley, did a woman police constable come to visit you at the diplomatic center? The only WPC that should go at the diplomatic center is Camille Robinson-Regis. Nobody else. Only she as a WPC could go there. Nobody else. There's a chain of command. And then they get a search warrant for people's house because you're accusing them of health violations of being bathing in the sea. That is the abuse of power. It is the overreach that we are warning this country about, brothers and sisters. I also want to warn you that this WPC is involved in sensitive investigations. And if it is true that she paid a call and visited the diplomatic center, we must know for what and to speak to who, to get directions. What exactly was her purpose there? Rowley must speak on this matter. He must say why he lost confidence in Gary Griffith. Is it because Gary Griffith didn't want to lock up innocent people? Why you lost confidence in Gary Griffith, brothers and sisters. And what is happening is a dangerous precedent. In the future, police officers who believe that they have something that Keith Rowley might be interested in, they may be tempted to go to Keith Rowley with information because they think he likes information. He's the director of the Information Act. Brothers and sisters, I move on. This matter with Bliss C. Prasad and the list. Bliss, where is the list? That is what I asked today. Bliss, where is the list? Because they sent a list, then without the authority of the Police Service Commission, they withdraw it, which they ought not to have done. The president said, I never see no list, it come and go on quick. It go on quick. She never see it. But in a court document we are reading where the Prime Minister thanked them for a list. They have to clear the air. Who took it back? Why? What high public official was involved and directed this? Which high public official? And the president is saying it is not the practice of this office. Madam President, your office is my office. It is the office of every taxpayer and citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. It is not my office. It is the office of the people. So you have to come clean. And brothers and sisters, the president had an option. She could have called the Prime Minister and the opposition leader, since jointly they are responsible for the Police Service Commission. She could have called to inform them of those delicate circumstances and asked them both for their advice in a transparent manner to solve and resolve this conflict. She didn't do that. Didn't do that at all. Remained quiet until the dentist had to force them out open to talk. And when they finally talk, they make more confusion than when they remain quiet. Brothers and sisters, I remind you, the Police Service Commission deals with national security. It cannot be undermined by politicians. And the people now concerned, a few of them in the media, the behavior of the opposition. You should be concerned with the behavior of the Prime Minister, the President, and the high official. That is the behavior that undermines the Constitution, not the behavior of the opposition members. Another question people ask me, they say, look, what does this have to do with ordinary people? This sounding like jacket and tie people in Port of Spain coming there, to talk and talk and talk. Tonight I want to explain. This is related to the doubles man, to the taxi driver, the carpenter, the cashier at KFC. This is related to them. And I will show you how. The CPEP and URP workers. All of us as citizens, including those persons, they need security. They need water. They need roads. They need minimum wage. They need to deal with poverty. They need to confront the social problems that they face. To do that, the government will work with institutions. Some are government, but some are public, confidential, independent institutions, like the Police Service Commission. And when you undermine that, a government, you take control of that for your own purpose, that means that the government can victimize those same citizens, can discriminate against them, can ensure they don't get the goods and services that they need and deserve. So this matter relates to the ordinary man and woman. They will continue in poverty, to suffer, to be discriminated against, to be victimized if the government is allowed to undermine the independent institutions. Those institutions deliver goods and services, so we must guard them diligently. We must guard them with every drop of blood. Brothers and sisters, a related matter, people are talking at Rowley wrote the Police Service Commission, and he said he lost faith in Gary Griffith. I asked him why. Of course, he lost faith in Gary Griffith. But that is an interesting point. The Commissioner of Police is a creature of the Constitution, independent. A Prime Minister ought not to write a Police Service Commission to indicate whether he has confidence or has lost confidence in any public official. What Rowley was trying to do is to influence and to infect the meritless. That is what he was trying to do. He was trying to ensure that Gary Griffith don't make it to the Parliament floor. A Prime Minister cannot write. Let me give you one small analogy. There is something called a director of the Properties Division of a ministry, public admin, I believe. Now, that director is in charge of billions of dollars of rentals of government property. Some property rented to officials of the government. Suppose the Prime Minister writes the Service Commission that appoints that director and say, Madam Jane Smith, I have no faith in her. I have lost confidence in her. The Service Commission believes that this is the executive office holder, the Prime Minister. They are intimidated immediately because the Prime Minister appoints the President in our system through the Parliament. The Service Commission will say, we don't want to appoint Jane Smith at all. The Prime Minister is trying to influence the working of an independent commission. And that is what we must guard. That is what we must guard against, brothers and sisters. So the Prime Minister ought not to write the Police Service Commission. Let them do their job. If they want to put Gary Griffith's name on a list, let it come to the Parliament and stand up like a man and say, no, you lost confidence in Gary Griffith. This Prime Minister, big hardback man, celebrating birthday and so on, hiding behind the petticoat of the President. When he moved from there, he hid behind the petticoat of the Speaker. On Thursday last was the most disgusting sight. He took all his frontline men, the frontline members, Imbert, Alwaris, Stuart Young, Dial Singh, all of them. He pelt them out and bring all the PNM female ministers and MPs to sit in front with him. Now he's hiding behind 12 petticoat. And that is what he called courage. You must bring Gary Griffith's name, don't afraid. I stood in Parliament and spoke, and we abstained from the appointment of Gary Griffith. And I and my colleagues, we took blows for that. You must stand up in Parliament and say you do not support Gary Griffith. Do not undermine independent institutions. Keith Rowley, that is our message to you. You must understand that there are processes that cannot be contaminated. And if Gary Griffith, you believe, has failed, lacking in performance and so on, come to the Parliament. But do not try to influence the merit list by breaching the Constitution. And those questions will not go away. I put it to you, they will not. The public deserves answers. The public deserve answers. And today as well, I want to appeal to all public officers. Do not do the dirty work. Do not do the nasty work of the PNM and Keith Rowley. You will be held personally liable if you breach the law in aiding and abetting Keith Rowley and this illegitimate PNM administration. I appeal to all public officers, do not be induced or seduced to breach the law. You will be held personally liable. So I call upon public officers in the DPA office and elsewhere to do your job. Speak the truth. Ensure that the truth is heard. Ensure that processes are followed without the pollution and contamination of the Prime Minister and his cabinet members. Brothers and sisters, Keith Rowley has turned this once prosperous Twin Island Republic. We were in the days of Kamla Prasad Bisesa, and before, we were like a grand, big mega store in the Caribbean. Today we are a parlor with empty shelves. That is what they have turned this country into. They have squandered our wealth, our prosperity. They are taking opportunity away from the young people. Today I also make an appeal to you. I have heard so many businessmen and women speak. Many are thinking, some have done it already, of packing up and going to Canada and America to conduct their business and so on. Today, when you call for a businessman, the chances he's in Canada living and nobody told you. That is what is happening to our country under Rowley. We must stand strong. We are here today with the October Revolution. We are here today on a campaign of resistance, and the political leader will speak shortly about that. We are here today to resist. Join us in the October Revolution. Join us to defend our democracy. We will survive. We will not surrender. We will survive this Keith Rowley reign of terror. Brothers and sisters, they are terrorizing our population. But please, as the song says, please don't go. Please don't go. Stay and stand strong and fight. And we in the United National Congress, Kamla Prasad Bisesa and the men and women that support her will stand in the vanguard. We will stand in the leadership to assist and to work on every single hour, every single day, every single week, every single month until we get rid of Keith Rowley and his band of terrorists. Thank you, and may God bless you all.